50 years ago, I started teaching at Oxon Hill Senior High School. Ran the work-study program there. Tom was teaching and running a work-study program at Potomac High School. And he was a great help to me because he had the program started before I got to Prince George's County. We started a 50-year friendship. I'm really honored to be here today to help us share our memories and our thoughts about Tom. Today we'll hear from family and friends. We'll drink a toast. We've already had some chance to socialize, and I hope we have a chance to do so afterward. So I'd like to begin today by reading a poem, I guess, by Jimmy Buffett. It goes like this. Grief is like a weight behind a boat. It starts out as a huge wave that follows close behind you and is big enough to swamp and drown you if you suddenly stop moving. But if you keep moving, the big weight will eventually dissipate. And after a long time in the waters of your life, we have come. That's when the memories of those who have left begin to shine as bright and enduring as the stars above. I think what Jimmy Buffett was saying, that through the process of mourning, grief is made to fade. Mourning is crying, talking about the loved ones who passed, sharing stories, listening to music, looking at pictures, and reflecting on objects that have significance. It's through this process of mourning that we heal. So probably a better word for mourning is healing. So today we're going to talk about Tom's passing. We're going to share stories. We're going to reflect on the significance of the objects. We're going to look at pictures. We're going to hear some music. But we will not cry. This is a celebration of life. The only tears will be those of joy. You'll note there's a pencil and paper on tables, and there's also a box right up here. It was Tom's humidor. If for reasons of your own, you do not wish to share your thoughts with everybody today, take that pencil and paper and write them down. Put them in the box. That box will be shared with Tom's son, Jake, at the end of the sermon today. Anything else that you have, a trinket or a object that will serve as remembrance or tribute to Tom, please also put that in the box. So now, I'd like your family and friends to share their thoughts. And the first person to do so is Jeff Lutton. So Jeff is Tom's nephew. And I'm glad to see him. I haven't seen him for many years. Thank you for being here, Jeff.
Thanks, George. Uncle. The dictionary definition, brother of one's mother or father. But for me, and for many here, it was a title, a term of respect. To truly tell Tom's story, my uncle, Uncle Tom, I have to go back and share a story of my great uncle. Tom's uncle, my grandmother's brother, Uncle Tub. For those who didn't know Uncle Tub was born in 1907. In the 7th grade, he dropped out of school to work in a steel mill to financially support his mother and siblings after his father passed away. And Uncle Tub continued that selfless life for the rest of his life. Never married, no kids. He raised my aunt, Tom's sister. He provided room and board for all the nieces while they went to nursing school. For the nephews, He taught them the essentials of life and those non-essentials that make life a little more fun. He taught them how to hunt, fish, generally what it meant to be a man in the 50s and 60s, how to be a productive part of society, and also those things that your father doesn't necessarily teach you: how to swear, how to drink whiskey, chew tobaccos, smoke cigars. And in the ultimate respect, he wasn't necessarily Uncle Tub. He was just Uncle. You knew exactly who we were talking about when you said it. Uncle. The pinnacle of respect. So Uncle passed away in '94, and shortly after his passing, I was with Tom, and I looked at him, and I said, "Hey, Uncle." And he knew the weight I carried. I saw the twinkle in his eye. I could see how he just let that settle over him like a well-worn coat. He shook his head in acceptance. He took advantage. So I believe Tom spent most of his life, especially his teaching career, being an uncle, showing his students what it meant to be productive members of society. And for myself, Tom taught me about guns, what it meant to be a man in the 90s. Some things my dad didn't teach me. What good whiskey really tastes like. How to pick out a good cigar. And value of a good group of friends. And most importantly, the only person that you really have to answer to is that guy you see in the mirror every morning. So my father passed away 13 years ago. And with that hole in my life, Tom was always available to hear about how my business is doing, what my kids were up to. And more importantly, Tom called me, and that's what I'm going to miss the most. So I want to challenge men of a certain age out there in this room. Take up Tom's mantle. Teach a young man what it means to be a man. Teach him some of those things that your father doesn't really cover. Be an uncle. And Tom, thank you for accepting the challenge of that name, Uncle. Thank you for fulfilling that role for me and so many others. The dictionary definition may be simple, but the title you earned was everything. Rest in peace, Uncle.
Thank you, George. For those who don't know me, my name is Jimmy Taylor. I met Tom when I was 5 years old. We met at church in Sunday school. We went through high school together. I can still remember Wines thundering down the basketball court. We lived life's highs, life's lows. My children knew Tom. My grandchildren knew Tom. So they say that you'll be remembered for so many generations. In this case, it'll be at least 3 generations to remember Tom Wines. We spent a lot of time at a cabin in West Virginia together. Shared a few drinks here and there. Shared a lot of stories. And when we turned 50, Wines gave me this mug, 45 of 50. Next year would have been 70 of 75. And Wines and I had planned a trip. We didn't know where we were going yet, but we were planning to go somewhere. Just the two of us and do a road trip. But life is short. So pour that whiskey, smoke that cigar, and stop apologizing for what you want in life. Here's the Wines.
That I received from Dolores Brown. Dolores Brown was a supervisor in Prince George's County, and she wrote this. George, this is probably one of the most difficult things I've done recently, but here goes. I first met Tom in 1980 when I left Eleanor Roosevelt High School and went to the board to work with the cooperative education program. Tom was a work-study coordinator at Friendly High School. For a time, he worked out of my office where he created and implemented the partnership with Branch Electric, a model that was duplicated in numerous schools across the system. It was there that I got to know him, and we became friends. He was unique among coordinators. He had a vision that was able to bridge the gap between education and business communities. He understood the culture. It was through his leadership and that countless students developed the lifelong skills that prepared them for success upon graduation, with many of them moving into full-time employment at their job sites. Tom was creative, articulate, and had an outstanding command of the language and the ability to apply it to the written word. He was fun. And he and George, that's me, took great pleasure in annoying me. And I have to say this. No one worked harder than Dolores Brown to ensure the success of the work-study programs. She was a joy to work with, Tom, and I really had great support from her, and we both loved her very much. So she continues. So, Mr. Wines, I shall always be grateful that we passed along the way. You were one of a kind, and I shall miss our debates, discussions, and overall craziness. Please send my best to Cheryl and the family for the comfort in the days and weeks ahead. So to know Tom was to know stories. He had a way of generating them. I'm not going to tell you a story today, but I am going to tell you something that brought me great comfort, and I hope that it will do the same for you. Tom and I were both members of the North-South Skirmish Association, the Gregor's Battery, 2nd Stuart Horsepower Artillery. We're a competitive target shooting group. We use Civil War era firearms. On competitive weekends, we would share a meal, a big steak, salad, baked potato, and a really good bottle of wine. We would toast each other, and Tom would always add to another day in the sun. After dinner and a bit of scotch, conversations would go long into the evenings. Earlier this year, after we had the national competition, Tom said something that stopped me. He said, "I think my father would be proud of me." We talked a bit more. But as I thought about it, I realized that Tom had looked back over his complete life and had measured his character and achievements against a very high standard, a standard set by a judge that Tom respected and loved. It's rare that one can experience the fulfillment and satisfaction that Tom felt, and I'm glad that he did. The last time we talked, as I often did, I tried to convince Tom to broaden his world outside of firearms. And indeed we did. We talked about his forthcoming trip to Key West and when he was going to come down to see us in New Orleans. And that part of the conversation ended with Tom saying that he had found something that he was interested in, and that's firearms, that he was good at, and he enjoyed. I realized that Tom did not have a bucket list. He was content with where he was, with what he had. Sometime later, I came across a reference to Peter Pan. Not the Disney movie, but the book. At the end of the book, Peter returns Wendy to her home after their adventures and he promises to come back in the spring. Peter has a very shady relationship with Tom. And when he returns, he's surprised to find that Wendy is an adult. He cries when he realizes that she will never return to Neverland. He's still a child. Wendy's life has been made complete and coherent through maturity acquired over years. Wendy no longer needs Neverland. And I also understood from that Tom's life was much like Wendy's, coherent and complete. He had no bucket list because all of his dreams had come true. So, we all knew Tom, but we don't all know each other. So now I'd like to ask anybody who wants to say something, wants to reflect upon Tom and his life. Come up, microphone, or stand where you are if you can talk loud. And tell us. But please give us your name and maybe some brief introduction to how you know Tom.
Mr. Taylor, you won't recognize me, and I didn't recognize you. Paul Soltis.
Oh my God.
Whoa.
Paul.
Oh.
Holy shit.
Anyway, yeah, we grew up together. Small little town, Derry, Pennsylvania. It's not D-E-R-R-Y, not like Derry. Anyway, I run into Tom in junior high school when I first met him. I grew up in a house with four brothers and a mother about this tall. She ever broke 5 foot, and she said she did. And she called Tom the Big Oaf. Whenever the Big Oaf came, there was always food on the table for Tom. My mother had a knack of somehow knowing unexpected people were going to stop in for dinner. And when Tom stopped, it was always around dinner time. And like I said, I look at this picture now and I said, Mom, you were right. Yeah, he is a big oaf. That's what I remember. We followed each other at IUP during my freshman year up there. I was what was called an ABC student. I couldn't go in the fall semester. I had to start in the summer. Tom started in the fall, and then we hooked up that spring semester. I was commuting back and forth, and he had a room in a dormitory, so he snuck me in, and I had a room in the dormitory on Tom for a semester. And then we somehow managed to fake a meal card for me, so I had food for a semester. So we ended up pledging the same fraternity, so we became fraternity brothers. So he became the 5th brother for my mother. Now he wasn't just a big oaf, he was actually the 5th brother in the house. We drifted in and out of contact over the years. Lately it was just through random emails, again with his love of firearms and stuff like that. But he was always a great guy. Some of the pranks that because he was so big that were pulled on him when we were pledging the fraternity, I can't tell this mixed crowd, but I guarantee you would all say, yeah, that's Tom. That's his thing. Great guy. And I hope everybody that knew him remembers the good memories that we have. Thank you.
Friends, and we had really worked together over the years to raise our boys, especially Matthew. And it's just lovely getting to see everyone, you know. One of the side effects of divorce is that you kind of divorce the whole family. And it's just wonderful to see you all again. And, you know, Tom was a huge personality in a lot of ways. And I'm just really happy to see everybody embrace that. And that's it.
My over 20-year friendship with Tom was rooted in a love of theater. We both enjoyed the same kinds of theater for the most part. And we participated in a number of different plays together, both as actors, and I directed them in a couple of plays. And as I reflect on it, I see that art imitates life and vice versa. In 2013, we were cast opposite each other in a play called The Sunshine Boys, which features two aging comedians. You can see the connection. For many years, I was infatuated with directing a wonderful little play, a rom-com called Nights at the Round Table. And I showed Tom a copy of the script, and he really loved it. And for a long time, he nudged me into doing it, or badgered me into doing it, because he was really taken with one of the characters in the play. He wanted to play the part of Marilyn Monroe in the play. And Marilyn was an irascible, charming, politically passionate person, a lover of strong spirits and good friends. That wasn't much of an acting stretch for me. In the course of the play, Marilyn encounters two 8-year-old girls. I'm gonna have a hard time with this. And in the play, he offers to tutor them in politics, government, and life in general. This is now where life imitates art. Because shortly after that play, Tom very generously offered to homeschool with my wife and my daughter those two 8-year-old girls and several of her cousins. For over 2 years, he brought his considerable expertise in education and his wonderful personality to our home and made a profound difference in our lives. As I understand it, Tom left us because his heart gave out. And that's easy to understand because he gave it to so many people. The Lord gives, the Lord takes away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. May the circle be unbroken.
I met Tom when I was about 12 years old, so 25 years ago, doing a play with the Twin Beach Players. And he just became a wonderful family friend to all of us. So when I was homeschooled with I'm one of 6, and when Tom volunteered to start helping homeschool our children, my 2 sons are 7 and 9, so you can imagine that's quite an undertaking. But Tom sent me a message this summer on Facebook that I unfortunately did not see until after he passed, and I just wanted to share that because it meant a whole lot to me. So with this message, he said, "Claire, please read this to your boys." And it said, "If I could keep you little forever, I wouldn't. As much as you are a part of me, you don't belong to me. You belong to the wind, the moon, the stars. Your heart is going to change the world and make it a better place. And if I'm lucky, I will be here to watch you do it." And I think that pretty much sums up Tom in general and how big his heart was. And I will be forever grateful for the impact he had on me and my children's life.
My name's Brian Lovelace. I'm the outside looking in. Don't remember what year I met Tom and Cheryl. Really doesn't matter how long I've known them. Because if Tom liked you, he liked you. Tom spoke. Well, Tom was a family guy too. And Tom talked to me like he had known me for years, which he had not. And he spoke of his wife, he spoke of his kids, probably told me things that he's probably never told them. It's just like Jimmy. Jimmy doesn't know me. However, I know enough about Jimmy, I'm surprised I wasn't invited to his Christmas party this year. So, wherever he snuck off to. Tom talked quite a bit about you. So like I say, I was the outside, looking in. We had a love for firearms as well. And I think that's where it started off at. And then I've done some work for Tom and Cheryl. Probably one of the best customers I ever had. So, just wanted to say, he was a good man. If he liked you, he liked you. Thank you.
I do not talk very loud, but I'm used to being behind a microphone because I sing. But anyway, my name is Jeannie, and my husband Scott and I, we live in Berkeley Springs, West Virginia. And my husband met Scott at Fort Shenandoah in Winchester, Virginia. Tom was a Civil War skirmisher for over 30 years, I know, as a member of McGregor's. If you're here from McGregor's, raise your hand. Look at this. Awesome. Tom was admiring my husband's .69 caliber musket, and as the two of them started to talk, Tom said, "Where do you live?" And he says, "Oh, we live in Berkeley Springs." And he said, "Well, Pat and I, we have a cabin right there in Berkeley Springs." Well, as it turns out, they live right down the road, about a mile as the crow flies, and it wasn't unusual for Tom to hop on his ATV and just show up. So the friendship grew, and the two of them would get together whenever Tom would come up to the house, or Scott would go to Tom's house. They talked about guns. Want to go over to Tom's cabin? No. Well, so my husband says, "Well, what else are we supposed to talk about?" "I don't know, let's talk about Cheryl, about the dog, about a movie, the weather, anything." No, I'll stay at home this time. One of the things that Tom was notorious for doing, we live up on the mountain, behind a locked gate, up against state game land. And Tom would come to the top of our road behind a locked gate, and he would start down the driveway to the house. I don't think Tom knew how to back up. Either that or he did it just to pluck my nerves. He'd drive through my grass, through my garden. So, the day after Tom died, my husband and I were getting ready to go somewhere, and we get in the car, and my husband starts the car, and he says, "This is for you, Tom." And he drives through the yard.
I can spin the wheels on the truck. Gotta do that.
Oh my goodness. When Tom came up to the cabin, he let everybody know, everybody up our way. John, Sonny, Pat, Tim, Scott, John, George, James. It's like, "I'm coming up." And it was just a swinging screen door. You never knew who was going to walk in at any particular moment, who had a little snack, or who, stayed for dinner. One evening as we were visiting with Tom, this was shortly after John Moss died, one of the members of his team. Tom realized that he was the hub, the glue, the connection between all these people that I had mentioned. He said, "If I died, you guys wouldn't get together anymore. I'm the person that, you don't see this person unless you come here. And you probably won't see them after I leave." And that's kind of like with us here today. We're here because Tom brought us here. But we may not ever see each other again because Tom's gone. Sometimes Tom would call and he says, "I'm just doing a quick stop over at the cabin. I'm on my way to Derry." He lit up when he talked about Derry. It's near Ligonier. It's where he grew up. My husband Scott and Tom, they had tables together at different gun shows: Chantilly, Virginia, McConnellsburg, Pennsylvania. Last year they drove to Tennessee, and every year they do the antique Baltimore gun show in Timonium. And my husband Scott and Tom have names for each other. Tom was Fred Sanford, and my husband was the big dummy, Lamar. The t-shirt he's wearing, Tom gave him the last time they were together.
We adopted that because we decided that our collection of guns, the Baltimore Gun Show, has some collections of really, really fine firearms. Ours were not. I said it was more like American kitsch, artfully displayed. So that's why we became Sanford and Son. I was the big dummy.
It seemed like Scott and Tom they spoke, if not every day, every other day. And when Tom died, Pat and I started calling people, and I was stunned how many people said, I just talked to Tom the day before. I'm curious, how many of you talked to him within 48 hours of him passing? He was a people person. I had no idea that, he just had to have people around. And he's touched so many of us. As I look around, I know how blessed Tom was to have you all as friends and family. And we are blessed to have had him in our lives. Thank you for being here.
I've known him anywhere near as long as anybody else. I met him in 2020 because I needed a gun dealer. My mother-in-law history ran back, her grandparents were vice president under Grant, and I had a bunch of guns going back to the Revolutionary War, and I had nowhere to go with these things. So I met Tom, and Tom and I developed a relationship. He introduced me to John Lever. I don't know if he is in here or not tonight. Okay. And whenever he would go to John's, I would go down to John's and meet him there. Then we had a little bit of a relationship on the side. We would get together for lunch at Skipper's every once in a while. He would call me up to go up to the Maryland Antique Arms Collectors Association in Baltimore a few times with him. So I didn't get to know him anywhere as well as the rest of you have, but I enjoyed his company. I enjoyed seeing him, that he was calling me. And I will tell you that that night I checked my phone before I went to bed and saw that he had passed. It broke my heart. He was a great person. I really liked him. I'm sorry that he has left us already.
We're here together because we've been together since September 21st, making this.
Thank you all for joining us today to help honor Tom's life and to carry his memory in our hearts. The process of planning the celebration and creating the details over the past few months has provided my mom and me a way to heal. It has given me especially a way to honor and show him how much I loved him. He always said he wanted a party like this, and I have no doubt that he is here in spirit and smiling, so happy that all of you came to enjoy this special time celebrating him. He always loved being the center of attention. All of his favorite things are here, including his beloved family, all of the best of his friends. His musket in the back is here. All these ridiculous t-shirts. The Macallan 18, food he loved, and of course the red velvet cake. Because I've always made sure on his birthday he had the red velvet cake. It was like his favorite and he just loved it so much. The Spotify playlist my mom lovingly put together that you've been hearing over the speakers is not only for today, but to have forever. It's on these they're kind of placed around this QR code in the title of the playlist. Has all his favorite songs for everyone to listen whenever you think of him. It'll always be here. The website will be here for generations to come. The slideshow that you've been watching is on the website. Please take one of these cards. It's a memory of him, and also the website is on the back. So not only can you visit it, but you can also upload any pictures or memories that you have, you know, later on. You can do it at your leisure. The purpose of this is to be there for his children, grandchildren, and generations to come. I love that Tom was part of our family, and I always admired him, how deeply he loved my mother. And for that, I will always be forever grateful.
Tom and I met in 1999 at a little school called Prim Vocational High School. He came in with pneumonia because I had called and said, if you don't show up today, I'm getting somebody to replace you, because he was 11 months and he didn't know it. We had a long discussion, soon became to realize that we were professionals with a very common goal, and we became fast friends. Tom was my Oscar, and everybody knows what that means. I often told him, you are driving me crazy. His quick, constant reply was, Cheryl, it's not a long drive. That was Tom, witty, grounded, and always ready to make me laugh. He was my world. I always told him, if you ever try to leave me, I will follow. Tom was a man of quiet generosity. He was a thoughtful gift giver, always finding something that let the receiver know how well he knew them. He was a regular donor at Red Cross and found joy in giving of himself wherever he could. He loved going to Optimal PT. It was one of his favorite places. He was there almost every day, and there are several people from there here today. Tom loved his many friends and made new ones wherever he went, even online. There are several people that he met online that I've received beautiful letters from that they never met in person. He loved being a thespian, his weekly sessions with his kids. He loved his gun families, especially his mentor and gunsmith, John Lever. He loved his historical research and his beloved Grateful Dead. He loved barbecued ribs, and all his shirts showed it. He loved Nola and the cabin. He loved single malt scotch, especially Macallan, and he loved Cuban cigars. They were quite difficult to come by. Above all, he loved his sons, he loved his family, and he loved me. Tom filled his days and our lives with warmth, humor, and passion. His kindness was constant, his friendships unwavering, and his love unforgettable. He made ordinary moments extraordinary just by being in them. And though he may have gone ahead, I will keep my promise and I will follow. Thank you all.
So my wife Mary, certainly one of them. Sonny Riggs, come up too. Please do. Jeff. Jimmy Taylor. Watkins. John Webb. Scott Lynch. And Jacob. So we'll be up by the bar. And Pat, would you like to give us a toast and say a few words?
Tom and I were brothers. It actually went beyond friendship. And we always said that whoever went first, one of us would toast him with 18-year-old Macallan, which is what I will do today. I'm not going to tell any stories. Just that he was, like I said, he was my brother. We went through a lot together. I really miss him, and I know you all do. So if we find a glass, something, just lift it. And we'll get there. He also used to say things like, he was so honored about the many lovely, wonderful, varied people that crossed the stage of his life. And everyone here obviously was one of those people. So, Thomas Earl Wines, we miss you. I'm not going to throw it. That's about it.